Hi, it's Patrick again from intensivecareathome.com.au, where we help long-term ventilated adults and children with tracheostomy to improve their quality of life, and where we also help hospitals and intensive care units to save money and resources whilst providing quality care. In last week's blog, I talked about the 15 positive and reliable realities about mechanical ventilation outside of intensive care. You can read, watch or listen to that blog by clicking on this link here. In this week's blog, I want to hone in on how and why an extension of intensive care services for long-term ventilated adults and children with tracheostomy in the community are becoming a necessity. Intensive care units are doing a tremendous job at keeping people alive, and it never ceases to amaze me how much modern medicine can do for people, and it also amazes me to see how resilient critically ill patients and their families are in intensive care. Keeping people alive is generally a good thing, and sometimes in intensive care it comes to the point where a patient is stuck in intensive care simply because they are ventilator dependent with tracheostomy. They may be medically stable, and they may be at the point where the only reason keeping them in intensive care is the ventilator dependency. Current clinical paradigms still have the perception that the only logical next step for a long-term ventilated patient is to go to a hospital ward after the patient has been successfully weaned off the ventilator. Weaning may or may not be possible, and sometimes the adult or child may be ventilator dependent for a long time to come. This often comes at a detriment to the clients and their families' quality of life, as an intensive care unit is not the right place to be in long term, and it is not the right place for intensive care units either. Beds are blocked and staff get frustrated just as much as the patients and their families are getting frustrated as well. Often inertia sets in and nobody knows what to do next, but everybody knows that intensive care isn't the right place to be in. So what's the solution to this dilemma for both the clients, their families and for intensive care units alike? The solution to this dilemma is to think what's best for all parties involved and to create a win-win situation by taking long-term ventilated adults and children with tracheostomy out of intensive care into their own home. It's a no-brainer for those who have seen it and who have also seen those patients blossom by just taking them into a client and family-friendly environment, which is their home. What do you think? What's your view on this topic and dilemma? Do intensive home care nursing services improve the quality of life for clients and their families? And do they also help intensive care units manage their resources more effectively? Share your views by leaving a comment below. If you are a health professional in intensive care and you think you know a long-term ventilated adult or child with tracheostomy and their family who would like to improve their quality of life and or their quality of end of life in their own home rather than in intensive care, even if it's to go home for a few days, and if your organization would also like to save money and resources along the way, or if you simply have any questions, give us a call or simply send us an email. Thank you. This is Patrick from intensivecareathome.com.au.